I mean, can you imagine what you would do if this happens to you? A couple in New York is suing a fertility clinic over an IVF mix-up after they became pregnant with two babies from two different couples. It was a baby mix-up. Here's HLN affiliate WPIX with details.
A distressing claim from an Elmhurst, Queens couple is garnering a lot of attention. In a lawsuit filed on July 1st, the couple named only as plaintiffs AP and YZ to protect their identities accuses LA-based CHA Fertility Center and its co-founders Dr. Joshua Berger and Simon Hong of medical malpractice, negligence, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The couple alleging the center implanted the wrong embryos in the woman's womb. The suit claims the couple wanted nothing more than to conceive on their own, but when they couldn't, they sought help from CHA. In September 2018, they were ecstatic to learn they were pregnant with what they believed were twin girls, but their first sonogram left the plaintiffs confused. Their New York doctor telling them they were having twin boys despite never having a male embryo transplanted. The lawsuit alleges the doctors at CHA simply said the sonogram results were not accurate, but this time it was. The woman gave birth by a C-section to two little boys in March, and despite both husband and wife being Asian, the babies were not. DNA testing confirmed neither parents were genetically related, and to add to the confusion, the testing also confirming the two babies were not genetically related to each other.
For that couple, this whole experience must have been utterly heartbreaking. I don't think there's any other way to think of it.
Dr. Zev Williams is the chief of Columbia University's Fertility Center. While he does not know the couple or the fertility center involved, he does say his facility works around the clock to ensure the proper safeguards and measures are taken to prevent a similar goof.
Anytime there's any handling of an egg or an embryo, we don't just do multiple checks with the patient and multiple sources of verification, but we'll actually have two embryologists present to sort of verify every sample and the identification of the sample.
With the popularity of fertility treatments and embryo storage soaring, Dr. Williams says patients should be wary of places who make appealing claims.
We are certainly seeing a lot of fertility centers and egg freezing centers popping up that are offering cut rate prices and convenience. But the truth is, when it comes to something as critical as fertility preservation and fertility care, sometimes the cheapest option can be very costly.
On top of all of this, the couple had to give up the babies after the clinic was able to find both sets of biological parents. I mean, joining me now to discuss is a former prosecutor and host of the Law and Crime Network, Bob Bianchi. Bob, I'm sure you are as baffled as I am of how this can happen. Maybe it was just a terrible accident. Do they have to prove that that was the case? Or is the fact that they took these babies away, they found the biological parents of a mix-up, enough to amount to negligence?
I mean, it's not negligence. It's like recklessness. It's as bad as you get. They have an obligation. These people are paid $100,000, and part of that is to ensure that you take the proper DNA, the proper embryos, and you place them into the appropriate people. And also think about those people whose folks didn't, that it was their biological material birthed by yet another person, the Asian couple. The Asian couple, ecstatic, happy, excited about having a baby, who ultimately turned out really only to have been surrogates. So there's such huge loss for them as for the 9-month period they're so excited about having a baby, them being lied to and told, oh no, the ultrasound isn't right, they're two girls, they come out to be boys, they're not Asian. I feel so bad for them, but I feel bad also for the couple that ultimately gets a call and says, by the way, we misplaced your embryos, put them into somebody else, and come pick up your baby. And that mother and father didn't get the joy of having gone through an entire pregnancy and the expectancy that parents have with their children. This is a massive, massive problem. And I'll tell you what, no jury's going to like this case, and they should get walloped not only in negligence but in punitive damages in order to send a very strong message that if you are going to be taking people's DNA and their embryos, you better make sure you do it correctly and place them with the appropriate parents. This should never, never happen.
I mean, you mentioned that sonogram. They went in around the 3-month mark and they told them it's two boys. They said, we didn't have any boy embryos. And they're like, oh, well, this has been wrong before. And then it comes out it's two girls. On top of all of this, this couple was left in the dark as to where their embryos actually are. When it comes to IVF, is there ownership over these embryos?
Absolutely. I mean, this is their genetic material, and they give it to somebody to have it properly cared, to make sure that it's taken in custody and that it's properly preserved. And now on top of it, these poor Asian folks here, the ones who have filed the lawsuit, not only lost the 2 children that she bore, and that's where the battery comes in, that weren't her own children, they don't even know where their embryos are. It is just such a horrible case, no matter how you look at it. Government agencies should be looking into standard practices and protocols. These fly-by-night organizations that are businesses that are popping up, God only knows what's going on there, to make sure that this never, ever, ever happens to anybody, because you have victims on both sides of this, including the little infant children who didn't have a birth from their own rightful mother.
It's just heartbreaking for a couple that had already been through so much. I don't even know how you put a number on that kind of loss. Bob Bianchi, thanks for being with us.
Okay, Lynn.